Welcome to ZeroPage Homebrew, your best source for the newest Atari games, and boy do we have a show today! Very exciting. We have the exclusive world premiere of the brand new game, Casey's Gold, by Audacity Games.
That's
and not
so
only
exciting.
that,
Yes.
only that, we have the three members of Audacity Games. It's very exciting. We have Dan Kitchen, we have David Crane, we have Garry Kitchen in the house. We will be going to them very, very, very shortly. But first, I want to thank the Twitch subscribers who help support the show and keep us going. 8-Bit Poet, Alan the Fur, Andrea Atari, Atari 1974, Atari Age, Atari's Maximus, Beer Pocat, Bruno Stex, Captain Class, Charles Dunmail, Charles William, Chitlila, Cole Patch, Siona Reboot, Dinoid, Dan AVC, Daryl 97, Dave M, David J, Lemon Fresh, Drexel, Dr. Moo, Cows, Eric Hart, Gamma Dev, Great Defender, Ground Trooper, Alder Jew, Jan ZL, JG, Johnny WC, Budo Coder, Carl G. Caracat, Crocodile 600, developed for Lambda Express, Mandy Sipic T, Mark Yanis, Mark Spacing, Metal Atari McMuse, Mike Sol, Mike Thomas Command, Mother 3, Mr. Vix, Muddy Funster, Nostalgic Packeret, FX Coag, Rancho 7, RC7E, Render Ghost, Repentless V, Ravatuli, Ricardo Pim, Smitty B, Spiceworks, Spinley, Esramir's, Tiki Dan K, who's that? Teatfos, TM Events, Trek MD, Tweenie, Vexer X, Vintage Gaming Memories, VVG Double Down, and XCan X. And if you want to support the show, you just click subscribe, just like Delta Falcon S did.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
New subscriber.
I was going to say we should really get like Siri or someone to read those out for you when you're feeling
When I'm sick, yeah.
You're going to like lose your voice before we even start.
No, I'll power through it.
All
We'll
right.
get through it.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, the D Train, who just subscribed as well.
Yes.
Oh, nostalgic
I got
likes
my
your
cat
shirt.
shirt on.
Your digital cat.
Yeah, my digital cat, to
Yeah.
honor these two very troublesome kitties in
So,
their house. Yeah.
During the interview, if anybody in the chat has any questions for the three gentlemen we'll be having on momentarily, just put in all capital letters before your question so it stands out and we can see it in the chat. Today my voice is just low.
Yeah.
It's there, it's just lower.
Yeah.
So I would like to welcome back to the show three incredible and undisputed pioneers of our favorite console, the Atari 2600, now releasing their third title for the Atari 2600 through their company, Audacity Games. Please give a warm welcome to the amazing team of Dan Kitchen, David Crane, and Garry Kitchen. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, James. Hi, Tanya.
Hey.
It's always a pleasure to have you guys on the show because your games are just so absolutely astoundingly incredible. I've had the pleasure of being a beta tester for Casey's Gold, so I've had a sneak preview of it. I've been able to play through it. It is remarkable. It is so much fun. And in preparation, Tanya has played a little bit today.
Yes.
So she's prepped. She's prepped to play it.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So before we boot up the game and get into it and take a look at it, let's go back in time, rewind the clock, and to the origins of the game. Can you tell us about the evolution, so everybody's prepped it, where it came from the rediscovered prototype of Keystone Cannonball to Gold Rush, now to Casey's Gold, which will be releasing tomorrow?
Well, we were back in the lab in 1983 at Activision at our offices in Glen Rock, New Jersey. Garry had finished Keystone Capers, which was a remarkable success. I had finished Crackpots, and we were playing, as we always do, with prototype ideas for new games. And late in 1983, I asked Garry for the character graphics for Keystone Kelly, and I created a couple of screens of a train because I always liked trains. I wanted to do a game with a train. And I put him on there and started to get him running around. And soon after that, the 1983 video game crash kind of happened. And Activision told us, hey, let's put all your 2600 games on the back burner, save all your files, and let's focus on the PC. And I guess not the PC at that time. It was more Commodore, Dave and Garry, I think Commodore and Apple.
Yeah. Because the computers were still doing quite well during the crash. It was like a North American console crash.
Right. It was a North American console crash. really from so many companies getting into the Atari system without a lot of review of their quality. As a matter of fact, early in 1983, I was at a store with Garry in Paramus, New Jersey, and I remember he picked up the first game we saw that was a non-Activision, non-Atari game, and Garry looked at me and said, "Uh-oh, the end is near," and he kind of predicted. You remember that, Garry?
I do.
Yeah, we were at a video in New Jersey.
Yeah,
because he knew.
You saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, he knew so many people would jump in and their quality wasn't very good, and they would flood the market.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there wasn't the game reviewing infrastructure there was now. People would go to the store, look at the cover, go, that looks cool, and buy it. And then they'd be like, this is not great. This is not an Activision game. This is not what I'm used to, right?
It was even worse than that, because there were game magazines that would do reviews, and they would give positive reviews to their advertisers.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Pay for play.
You could buy a positive review.
Right.
That doesn't help anyone in the long run, anyway. Yeah.
So I had taken the cartridge of the prototype and burned it and brought it home and forgot about it for years.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that Garry and Dave were active in the Classic Gaming Convention with John Hardy and the folks at the National Video Game Museum. And I went to the show a few times and talked about this prototype I had once had. And I spent many years talking about it and saying I had a cartridge somewhere. And you know, by the umpteenth year, I think John and his folks at the museum that I knew, or who were at the Classic Gaming Convention, kind of said, "Nah, we don't believe you, Dan. You know, you're talking about the cartridge." Well, in 2016, I can't believe it's been that long. Garry had found a tool online to program Atari games, and he showed it to me. And he and Dave were focused on working on Circus Convoy, and I thought to myself, you know, I think I'm going to try to recreate that game I once had a prototype cartridge of. I remember what it looked like in my mind. I'm going to start it from scratch.
Right.
And I did. I started it from scratch, and I unfortunately announced the game way too early. So I've learned my lesson on that. And I think we poked some fun at it with the video.
A little bit.
Yeah, you did a great job on that. Good things are worth waiting for, and the kettle boiling, turning into a train whistle. Oh,
yes, that was excellent, beautiful. Garry did a wonderful job with that.
That was my most proud moment on that video.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's so effective.
Very effective.
I thought I would be the only one that noticed that.
Oh God, no!
No one else is going to notice how cool that is, that transition. But lo and behold, Dan heard it right away. As soon as I talked to him,
of course.
Transition. So I think somewhere around 2018, maybe. At that point, I was thinking about publishing the game myself, but I didn't know that Garry and Dave had gone off and started to focus on Audacity.
We didn't tell anybody we were working on Circus Convoy. It wasn't announced till it was done. So that was 3 years of silence.
I didn't even know about it for most of the time. Garry and I would talk about family things and how are you, so
we kept it completely quiet.
So at some point, I'm cleaning out my offsite, and my lovely partner Carolyn is with me, and we're going through the boxes. And I said, you know, I once had this prototype cartridge. I never found it. And she started pulling things out of the boxes. Is this it? No, that's a floppy disk. Is this it? No, that's a thumbnail. She's pretty technical, but she didn't know what a 2600 prototype cartridge was. And she pulled out this thing, and it was red, and she said, is this it? And I said, oh my God, that's the cartridge. I haven't seen it in 30-some years.
Wow.
Well, it turns out John Hardy of the National Video Game Museum was in New York at that time, visiting, I think, with his stepfather, and I called him. I said, John, I found the cartridge. Carolyn found the actual prototype for that train game. And he was so excited, he drove over to my place the next day in New Jersey.
Of course.
And we plugged it in, and oh my God, this picture came up. And I said, let me compare it to what I was working on for, at that point, maybe a year. And it was amazing how close I was and how better my new game from scratch was, and I guess I figure I must have had more experience now that I had in 1983.
Oh yeah, you've had decades of making games since then.
So
we should just interject here. I'm the business guy.
Yes.
Not in any way based on anything that Activision owns.
Correct.
It is not a Keystone Capers game.
Correct.
It's a spiritual successor. There are rumors that Casey O'Toole is the cousin of Keystone Kelly, but we don't know that for sure. We haven't
never done
done
a DNA test.
Right.
No DNA tests have been proven to relation.
So it's clean as far as all that goes.
Yes, and every single line of code in there is original from Garry, Dave, and myself as of 2016 onward. So
that's good.
We got together at Audacity, and I kind of put the game aside and helped their marketing efforts with Circus Convoy, and I've had contract work throughout the years in the industry producing other games, and so I didn't focus on the game full time until just recently to be able to get it done. And I actually had some versions that I passed by the guys, and frankly, they hit the bar so high with Circus Convoy. It was of equal quality, and my initial game that we looked at wasn't. Garry and Dave said, "Why don't you try this and this?" And I went back, and though it took years to actually in less than 2 years.
There you go.
I was finally able, with their help, to bring it to completion, and I think we're very proud of it.
Oh yeah, it's great, and yeah, Circus Convoy did set the bar high. It's a massive game, and so much fun and very deep. It takes a while to play. Yeah. It takes a while to get through it. And I can say the same thing for Casey's Gold as well. It is
Circus Convoy was 3 years of, all right, we think there's enough in it. Dave, what do you think? Let's add one more mini game.
Well, let's also say 3 years at the same time. Yeah. Dave had designed the cartridge plastic and the circuit board.
Right. Did all the infrastructure work. Yep.
Tremendous amount of work.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we were terrified.
And we'll get to that too.
We were terrified to come in too low on the bar. So we kept adding things and tweaking and playing and adding things. And finally, we just
victim of your own success. Yeah, you set your own bar, and now you have to meet it or exceed it every time.
By the way, one quick note: when Dan mentioned that we had found a tool online, I just want to give credit. It's 8-Bit Workshop by a gentleman named Stephen Hugg, and he's a very bright guy, and he did a fabulous job on that website. And
lots of great tools on there.
If it had been a piece of junk, honestly, maybe we wouldn't have done it. But the fact that the tool was so good and we could instantly start trying things out sucked us in enough, because it was a real barrier to get over to make that step to actually start doing it again. Because it just felt like, oh my God, this is a mountain we want to climb. But you got into it quick with 8-Bit Workshop. So kudos to Stephen Hugg, did a great job on it.
Yeah, we created all of our own development tools at Activision, and those were all gone. We had our own cartridge at Activision, that was gone. There was no tool left to buy from somewhere to make cartridges. So just even the development equipment, but everything else was all started from scratch. These days, you draw a picture in Photoshop, and in 3 seconds, it's on the screen and on your Xbox or whatever. It ain't that way with the 2600.
You have to tell it everything. You have to tell it everything to put on the screen, and when, like exactly when.
Yep. James, you've done some work on it.
I have actually made a game now. I can call myself a developer. I promise to make more. So I love the 2600. It's such an amazing system. So let's boot up the game. Let's get it on the screen so people can watch it while we discuss it. So
actually, it takes a while to load.
I've got it preloaded, so it is a big game. 128K. It's on the big side. Okay.
We're going to shake things up on our next game. It's going to be a 2K game.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's constraints. Good luck with that. Okay, so this is an exclusive world premiere. Here we are. Here's what you see when you first boot up the game. I'm going to hand the controls to Tanya here. She's got a cat currently in her lap. Trade it for a joystick.
As
like,
I do.
Absolutely stunning opening screen with parallax mountains and a track and a massive train sprite. And color cycling Casey's gold on the screen. It's absolutely amazing. Of course, there's let's see, the use of multi-level, multi-sectional use of the screens on levels, especially with the side-by-side train car rooms, which is very rarely seen on a 2600 game. There's a lot of unique things in this game. So can you talk a little bit about kind of the overall design of Casey's Gold?
Well, start with a disclaimer. Those people who have seen the video, that's not the music in the game.
Right.
Right.
No.
2 people commented. I know 3,000 people saw the video. 2 people said, "I can't believe you're making the machine do such great music." We forgot the disclaimer.
Yeah.
So go ahead, James.
Yeah, all the design elements, like the uniqueness, like even the mine area with the multiple levels and the side-by-side train cars, it's not something you see, Dan, in games.
Right. Well, I wanted to do something again that reached the level of Circus Convoy. And there's a lot of things at Circus Convoy. People don't know how hard they are. One of the simple things is, hey, you get some gas and the 2 trucks close in on each other. Well, that's incredibly hard to do, as Dave will tell you. That's a score kernel with 6 characters changing, at very fine times, actually moving along the screen. And so, when I had to reach the level that they had achieved, I had to pull out some real stops, and I wanted to do an engine that was going to be very cool. I was fortunate enough that the wheels and the playfield lined up correctly, and so I wanted to do, something that people would look at first and say, "Oh my gosh, how'd you do that?" And that's kind of thing we used to do in the '80s when we were at Activision. We'd always do things, and to kind of show the other designers, have them walk over and say, "Oh, that's cool. How'd you do that?" So
that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
To say, how did you make that happen on a 2600? So speaking of breaking up the screen and blanking out certain parts of the screen that Casey isn't on, was there a temptation at any time to have the 3 horizontal levels on the mine at the screen at the same time?
Yeah. Yes.
Or was it an aesthetic choice, or was it a factor of the processing time for all the things that were going on?
It was some processing time, but it actually was a RAM issue. I had designed that part so late in the game that it was easier for me to just show 1 level at a time. I actually had a couple of kernels up that had the 3 levels, similar to the way Garry showed the department store in Keystone Capers. But I didn't necessarily have all the RAM available. I had to keep certain RAM for the town and for the train levels, so that when you went back to them, it knew where things were.
Right. Yeah. So, and you can tell you put a lot of love and dedication to this game, and a lot of time as well. As you said in the trailer for the game you released the other week, it was worth waiting the 5 years, because you announced it pretty early. I mean, I did that with my movie too. I let the cat out of the bag, and then everybody's like, "Where's the movie? Where's the movie?" And I'm sure you encountered it at the same time. I think we already covered this. can you give us a quick timeline of the development of like Casey's Gold for the past 5 years? You said you took some time off. So when did it exactly ramp up again in earnest for this release?
Probably ramped up again, I would say sometime in the spring. I had a version last year that I think you were in on as well, that was just train levels. And
that's right.
Everybody who played the beta, including Garry and Dave, said, look, there's a lot of train levels. It'd be nice to get off the train for a change.
Yeah, so you've broken it up into kind of 3 distinct areas. It is kind of the main theme is the train one, but then you've also got a town level, which fits in perfectly within like the motif of the game, the era of the game, and you've also got a mine part of it, complete with mining carts, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
there's so many mechanics.
I wanted to do something with mining, but Garry had brought up a concept for a mining game that I looked at and said, oh, that would be very cool. How can I extrapolate on that and make that fit into the kernels and the code that I already had? And then the Western town was cute until Garry helped create the Western look of the character, and that really made it fall into place very well.
Right. Now, how does the character in the town relate to the character we see on the train?
I think Casey O'Kelly just simply changes his outfit.
Just swaps hats. He goes incognito. This is his official work outfit.
That's right.
And he goes into town
There's
and
actually
dresses a little bit more casual.
And you don't see it. It's on one of the interim screens.
He's a quick change artist.
Right.
Yeah. So this game definitely has a strong theme running through it of trains. When I was about 10 or 11, over half of my bedroom was taken up with a 4-foot riser of a model train setup.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Something's wrong with the ZPH stream.
Somebody's saying something's wrong? 1 second. Nope. Nothing's wrong with it. And I had my wall painted blue as well for the sky, and a big train set with changing the tracks and trees and grass and everything.
What gauge did you have?
So, like, it was so long ago, and it was for a couple years, so I can't tell you much more than that about it, unfortunately. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about your experience with trains? Did you grow up with a train set, or is it just a love of trains?
No, I've always had a love of trains. I'm a model railroader, though I don't have a setup currently. But I had joined for many years. I was part of the oldest model railroad group in America, called the New York Society of Model Engineers. And with my love of electronics and railroading, I helped design the control panels for the railroad and help them lay track. It was kind of a very, these guys were serious collectors, where instead of, buying track in the store and laying it down, they actually laid down individual ties and then spiked rails onto the ties and created them that way. A little bit more crazy than I could have done. But I always had a love of trains growing up. My father loved trains. And just always wanted to do something in a video game with trains.
Okay.
Dan would also go over to this train club after an all-nighter working on software at Activision, in the New Jersey office, and laying track was cathartic.
Yes, that's right.
In fact, it became synonymous with, I'm going to take a break from this hard work. I'm going to go lay some track.
That's good memory, Dave. I didn't remember that. That's
great. Yes, I had a little hammer and tool. Used to hit all the little spikes and make sure the gauge was correct going down the mountains, that sort of thing.
That makes sense. It's a repetitive thing. It's something that you know how to do. You can take your mind off of work.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've seen the engine on in the game. Can you tell us the significance of the 0514 that's on the side of the train? Because nobody makes a piece of art without thinking of absolutely everything in the game. Every detail has something behind it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs in the game. I'm not sure I'm going to reveal that at this time. We may reveal that through a series of posts that we're going to do with some Easter eggs.
Okay.
But it is definitely a significant date in my life.
Okay. That gives a little hint. I think it narrows it down, but that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always fun to just add those little things in that maybe some people will notice, maybe some people won't notice.
And I was playing Circus Convoy, and I noticed Dave and Garry put an Easter egg in there, literally an Easter egg, which was very funny.
Yes.
So I did the same with this, with my game. There was an Easter egg hidden somewhere, and kind of as an homage to our past and what we did in our past. In 4 of the levels, you will find 4 of the main Activision characters just sitting around in the cars. Pitfall Harry is in there, Frostbite Bailey, Short Order Sam, and of course Keystone Kelly. You have to do something which we'll probably release at some point, and go back through some screens that you were in, and in one of the coach or dining cars, you'll see them sitting there, and you can grab them for a lot of extra points.
Wow. Okay, I didn't run into any of those people during my beta testing,
Correct.
so they're a little hidden.
Yes.
So that's good.
I mean, there's a little explanation there. It is well after the video game crash, so they are a little tattered, like hobos sitting in the train. You know, they've got the stick with the little bag on it, and they beard. You know, they've been through a lot.
They've fallen on hard times. They've been out of work for a while.
It has been a few years. Yes.
So since picking it back up, can you talk us a little bit about the beta testing process? I was chatting with my friend who works in the industry last night about a game he's making for the PS5 Pro, and he was telling me the turnaround time for new builds is like 24 hours because you have to rebuild this massive game and then download this massive game. So can you talk a little bit about the process of working with beta testers, getting the feedback, incorporating their feedback back into the game, and fixing up any bugs that you find?
Well, certainly. I mean, I've produced some very large titles in my life, and I'm very familiar with those type of cycles. You know, this is much easier. Yeah. We simply have a Google sheet that we share with our testers, and we give information as to the version number, the date, who finds the bug, whether it's an A, B, or C bug, what type it is, graphic, programming, gameplay, other, and then a description of what it is. And we always ask our beta testers to videotape their play sessions so that we programmers can see, you know, what may have happened to cause this bug. And then once that's up, I get a notification on my phone that there's a new entry on the sheet. Now go to the code, and Dave and Garry and I have been working on the code together, so we carefully share the code so we have version control, and then I'll take it or Dave will take it, and we'll look at the issue and then fix it and turn it around quickly. In the case of a 128K all assembly code game like this, I can find a bug that's, you know, probably within an hour. I'll trap it using Stella, and I'll be able to verify what it is. Right. Make the change. I'll always retest the game and make sure I have actually fixed the bug and not simply said I fixed it. And then we'll set the page accordingly, and the testers, in your case, yourself and others, would see the indication and then go and verify it for themselves before it's closed out.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about the tools that you use. Obviously, you said you use Stella, but do you step through the code, or do you just kind of set a break and then you know where that thing is that caused, like, say, a screen roll, and then you would go to the code and fix that up?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The couple that you found, I saw them and I thought, you know, it has to do with, as many things do in our code, Garry and Dave can tell you, multiple things happening during one frame that you don't necessarily expect to happen during one pass through the code. And case of you or the ones you found, you collided with something at the same frame I decided to say, hey, it's time to switch the screen. And of course, I go and switch the screen, and the flag that says I collided with something is still on. So the game's waiting for an outcome of that collision, and nothing ever happens. So
that was a very, very edge case bug that I accidentally ran across. I collided with something with my back of my foot.
Yes, you did.
Just at the edge of a screen, just before it switched over to the other screen. Totally accidental, but you know, those are the type of things that you find when you're doing beta testing. You try different stuff, or the other one, switching a screen back and forth, and it carries over enemies from one screen to the other screen, and that was like, how does it even do that? Like, it's amazing that it brought over the enemies to the other screen.
Yes.
That was so funny.
And on a machine like this, we have limited processing time because of the vertical blank time. And so you can't do as much as you want, so we have to sometimes anticipate. So on that bug you just mentioned, when the character is on the edges or near the edges of the screen, I kind of preload information for the next screen, knowing you're on the left side or the right side. And so I had preloaded some information and in one frame missed or skipped a pointer setup, and it thought it was in the other screen when you switched. And so you saw some of the mine characters for screen 4 in screen 5, which weren't supposed to be there.
Right. Yeah. Time is very tight on this machine. Very tight. You want to squeeze as much out as you can.
Yeah, and as Gary and Dave could tell you, you know, we're so deep involved in this, in all the code for all the games that we write, that we know when we see something on the screen, oh, I know what section it's in. You know, it has to do with this.
Right.
And it really narrows down that you can go in and just single step, set a couple of breakpoints, or flag when a particular bit is being stored into a RAM location, and you can pretty much find it. I know that Dave and Gary had some doozies as well that they had looked for in Circus that they had to clean up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big game in terms of 2600, but I guess not so big that you can't instantly kind of recognize where in the game that code might be, especially if you're very well organized with your code, where the bug might be located.
Right, and you're always working with just 4K banks at one time. So, yeah.
So it's like mini games, a ton of mini games almost. Yeah. This came up much earlier when you were first talking about Casey's Gold. So when people first got a look at Casey's Gold, there was a lot of comparisons made to Circus Convoy, obviously, because they're both platformers along a moving vehicle. That's kind of where it stops. That's where it ends.
Exactly.
Especially once people start playing, they'll understand that's it. Was this a concern when making the game? And was there an effort to differentiate Casey's Gold from Circus Convoy a little bit earlier?
I'll let Gary and Dave take this, but I will say that the saying of great minds think alike is correct. They had gone off and started Circus Convoy, and I had separately gone off and started this. You know, and I guess it's funny. We think alike, and like, well, they have some magic stuff. I had some magic stuff. They had a circus game. I had a circus car. You know, there were some things that we looked at when we got together as Audacity and said, yeah, even though we came up in a vacuum in two different places, some of the characters you have are too close. We don't want people to think that it's the same game, which it's not. And I'll let Garry and Dave take it from there.
Well, if you're not careful, you're going to say every game that has a side view screen is Pitfall.
Well, yeah.
But that's what the Atari 2600 does well, screen to screen like that. Scrolling is extremely difficult. As Dan mentioned earlier, we did some of that with the having the trucks close in on each other so that you could jump across the gap and stuff like that. But otherwise, screen to screen is what it's all about. And when I was doing Pitfall in 1982 or 1 or 2, whenever that was, when I was doing the work on it, you know, people would look over my shoulder and say, this has got a lot of potential. And I think both Pitfall and Pitfall 2 did a pretty good job of realizing that potential. But the whole idea of a screen to screen is you could run off the right side of one screen, you run onto the left side of another, and you could run out of the jungle. And if you had enough ROM, you could run into the city. If you then ran out of the city, you could run onto the dock and jump onto a boat. So it was always there with screen to screen adventure. The only real similarity is that they both have wheels turning,
right?
Instead of static screens.
Yeah, I mean, that is it. And once people play it, they'll realize it immediately that the mechanics, the goals, everything is completely different in the game. The way they're played, yeah.
I mean,
and I think once people saw the trailer, they also saw it's like, oh, this is completely different.
I mean, in answer to your question, yes, the last 6 months or year of development, I think I was taking the lead on saying I was playing, and I thought this particular screen, for whatever reason, was too reminiscent of Circus Convoy.
Right.
So we changed.
Right.
Certain screens, we probably changed characters a couple of times. You know, there were things, and because I was very concerned about that, because we had heard it a lot in the last few years at shows, whatever.
Yeah.
People would say, oh, you know, it looks like you're using the same engine. And we said, no same engine. It's completely written 3,000 miles away by Dan, not us.
In case it's the only one that has an engine.
Yes, it's an engine exists.
This is a literal engine.
It's a literal engine.
It's our drag and drop side view scrolling adventure game engine.
Yeah, the
You just drag one card in, everything works.
That's right.
So yes, I was paranoid about it. But I mean, like every game, in the end of the day, it has its own feel. And the feel to me is completely different. Circus Convoy, not the same at all, and the gameplay is completely different. So,
yeah, and with the addition of the underground mine carts, and the town section, it really differentiates itself as well.
Yep.
So you gave a sneak peek of Casey's Gold to people at this year's PRGE. Those who were lucky enough to get there, go to your booth, and have a hands-on play of it. Can you tell us what people's reaction were to the game when they came up and played it?
Yeah, first thing they said is, "Oh, we thought this was canceled." We did get a few of those.
Wow. Oh,
well, yeah, we haven't talked about the name change either.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you've asked about that. And the name change is so simple. We have a trademark attorney that we go out to, and he says, I can't trademark Gold Rush. How about let's name it something else?
Yeah.
There's other games called Gold Rush, and that's what lawyers do for television shows and movies. They do a name search, a title search, and then you rename it.
You know, we keep harping on the fact that these two games were developed, thousands of miles apart and without knowledge one to the other. We went at it completely differently because Garry and I we never told anybody. Every time we went to a trade show, they said, you guys need to make a new 2600 game. We said, do you know how much, do you know how hard that would be? And because when you say that to me, you're not saying, I want a ROM. You're saying, I want a game in a box with a label and a cartridge and a manual and all of these things, and we didn't have any way to even make a cartridge. So the 3 years we were working, we were doing that sort of thing. We've actually created a tool for a plastic cartridge and then figured out the boxes and the size of the box and the depth of the box and the mechanism inside the box to hold the cartridge and all of those things.
And all the goodies. All the goodies you include.
And all the swag for the VIP and everything. So we were doing all that. And the entire time, we had the ability to say, all right, it didn't work out the way we wanted it. Nobody knows. We'll just stop. And we very much wanted to make sure that you can only do this once. You can only come back once. And your world tour, when you come back, it better be darn good. And so that all happened. Now, Dan, on the other hand, was thinking he was probably going to have to do a Kickstarter to get the funding to do all that plastic and the boxes and all that kind of stuff. And so he started, promoting the game before it was even started, halfway done, probably.
Too excited. He was too excited about it.
Simply because I thought, as Dave said, I would have to generate interest to raise money to do this, not knowing they were doing this on their own, separately.
Right. Again, great minds think alike. Well, you both wanted to make a game.
And in fact, what's funny about it is, as we were getting closer to release, I was worried about people's reaction. Well, we were worried going to shows in the last 18 months because we didn't want people to get aggravated. They would come and say, "What's going on with Casey's Gold?" And we would explain.
Right.
It's got to be perfect. We're not releasing it until it's perfect. And, we'd get a lot of pushback like, come on, where is it? What are you doing? So I was worried about negativity. But I'll tell you, at PRGE, when it actually appeared, all that, can I say the word yapping, Dan? Is that all that yapping about the game over the years?
How about pent-up interest?
Yeah.
Pent-up interest. That's a nice diplomatic way.
Yeah, the demand was overwhelming and people weren't mad. They were so excited that it actually really existed. So we actually have had the best response for Casey's Gold of any of the 3 games. Pre-release response of "I can't wait to buy it" has been off the.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really great.
I felt quite bad that I felt I had let down the fans, and when I was really just trying to make it better, and I had to because I had joined these folks who did the most incredible game on coming out, and I really didn't want to announce more information about it. Some people would just say, "Okay, come on, we've heard it enough. When's it coming? Is it really coming out?" So we kind of laid low, didn't talk about it. I used to update a website I had with my information. I stopped doing that. And as Garry said, it was received very well, and I'm very happy that people liked it. Now, I'm glancing down and seeing Tanya playing it, and I just wanted to mention a little background on what people are seeing. Is that
I totally skipped that question right from the top, and I was gonna say it next. Please give us an overview of what this game's about.
Yeah, no worries. So there are 30 levels. 20 of them are on trains. The trains grow to about 30 screens long. You can traverse the trains by jumping along. Sometimes you can catch little warp flags. You've got to find little buttons to press to be able to activate a warp flag. That'll warp you to different sections of each train. And there are kind of 5 main cars or groups of cars. There's the box cars, and then there's toy cars that are yellow, and those always have toys associated with them, whether it's little toy trains or boomerangs or toy tops, toy helicopters. And then you'll have magic cars. When I first started doing a website about this, I had created 4 Western newspapers from a mythical town called Gold Rush Gulch. Garry and our mom and dad were in the newspaper business. My father was head of the Canadian press in the U.S. He was a White House correspondent under President Eisenhower. He covered Parliament in Canada. He was an incredible man, and my mom was first woman in radio doing broadcasts to the French underground during the war. And they later in our lives, they owned 3 newspapers in New Jersey that Garry and I worked at while we did other things in our careers. And so I created these newspapers as an homage to them, and it talked about the cars that you were pulling in the game. So you had the box cars, you have the toy cars. There were magic cars where you'll see rabbits in hats, and you'll see various floating magic wands and And then there are haunted cars where you'll see ghosts and you'll see candelabras floating. You'll see bats and tarantulas. And then you have the various train cars of boxes and coal cars that you're pulling, and gondola cars, they're called. And so you've got all these different types of cars. On my screen, I can see Tanya's now in the one of the mine levels.
Yeah.
And so
gorgeous.
below Gold Rush Gulch are these 5 gold mines. So you've got 20 train levels. You pull into 5 different versions of Gold Rush Gulch, and then you've got 5 different mine levels underneath that town. And that makes up the 30 levels. And as you mentioned, they're interspersed between each other.
There's a question from the chat. Are the levels generated from a seed, as in Pitfall, or are they explicitly defined?
No, they're explicitly defined.
Yeah. So it's it'll be the same game every time.
Right.
So you can practice the levels, so you can pass them, etc.
Right. I'm a fan of Mario, so I like the fact that I could go back and remember what I had done during one section of the game to be able to circumvent the obstacles.
Yes.
Yeah, Pitfall had to generate screens procedurally simply because there wasn't enough ROM to define each screen.
Yes.
Right.
Now we have ROM.
Yeah. 128K of it. Tons and tons and tons.
we do like to point out that that's all there is it's a larger ROM than the games we did in the 1980s. There's no hardware acceleration. There's no processor on board. And a lot of other things that people are doing. We're just ornery that way. We wanted to do it the way we used to do it and prove that we could do greater things. And ironically, you can't buy a 4K ROM anymore. The 128K ROM is the smallest thing I could buy, so I built the circuit board based on it.
Yeah. So, talk a little bit about the 128K. Like this... It's super banking 128, and it doesn't have any extra RAM either.
No.
Is that correct? So
No,
using the
no RAM.
No, 128 bytes
just the
with 2 for the stack.
Yeah, that is not very much. 128 bytes. And that goes back to my question about the levels in the mine showing all 3 at once. It's a constraint.
It really was
that you had to take.
But it's also pretty cool. I mean, the idea, like when you start inside the caboose and the black screen around there shows you that you're on an inside screen, and then you climb out and now your scene is outside of the caboose. And you notice those are completely, they match. The locations of the caboose inside and out match.
Right.
It's rendered levels of depth. And it really works as an effect. It's very nice.
Yeah,
it does.
Same thing in Gold Rush Gulch.
Right.
Is you see the window, you actually see the sunset out the windows, and you can go in, through the windows and come out.
Kind of a callback to the blinds program that was made, right?
Yes,
you can see through. That's the blinds.
Dave's vertical blinds.
They're behind Dan in his house there.
Yeah, they're right behind him, right there.
Yes, but you'll see in some of the train cars and in Gold Rush Gulch, I put those on the windows, to kind of homage to the vertical blind technique.
Yeah. I really appreciate all the extra visuals when completing a train level, the placement of the gold bars back on the stack, the stopping of the trains, and the counting and popping of the balloons and on the score screen. It's all these extra little flares that are really part of the gameplay, but part of the game, and show the larger world of the game and add to the overall experience. There's also an extreme amount of artistry in the animation and the graphics. So, did you do all the graphics yourself? And do you have any background in art, or is it just decades of experience of making games and just getting better and better?
Well, I have no art expertise. Garry, on the other hand, is a fine artist. Most of the graphics of the animation are mine. The character in the Western town is Garry. The beautiful Gold Rush Gulch sign is Garry.
Yeah.
I guess most of the animation of the characters is mine, but I would create something, and sometimes there's a puzzle. There's 3 puzzle cars in the game where you have to do some puzzles.
Yes.
And then you use a plunger to kind of bounce Casey around. And I had these characters, these 3 things on top of one of the puzzle cars, and Garry looked at it and said, "I have no idea what the hell that is. They look like toilet bowls." And that was a instance where I was not a good artist, and I couldn't.
So that was the toilet car. That's
toilet car.
Yeah.
And Casey squats, so it looked really funny, and I couldn't get it to look better. I looked at Garry. I said, "Please give me something." So Garry made these beautiful little railroad crossing signs.
Now it's the railroad signals.
Yes,
and they look pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah. So for the most, for the most part, I had a lot of the art in, but Garry enhanced a lot of it, and we looked at it together and made sure the colors are right and everything worked.
My favorite is that lizard that runs across, stops, runs some more.
But that's
it's just
Dan.
the cutest thing ever.
To Dan's credit, a lot of the best little characters are all his. I mean, I did the guy in his Western garb and his conductor garb, and I contributed on a few characters. But many of the nicest, creepy little things running around are all Dan.
Yeah, it's not just the 2600. It's any 8-bit gaming system. You basically have to experiment with, how do I make something in 8 bits that looks like what it's supposed to?
Right.
And you show it to somebody who doesn't know what you were intending, and hopefully they will look at it and say, "That's what it looks like." We're always asked this with a Buenos blob, and we have a whole bunch of objects in the Buenos blob. And even on the NES, where you have fewer color restrictions, you can actually have multiple pixels of different color on a single scan line, where you can't on the 2600. And it's just, we've been doing this for 50 years, you draw something and say, does this look like what I wanted it to look like to someone who doesn't know what I was trying to do? And if it doesn't, you throw it out and you start.
And the classic example of this, which is the radios in Keystone Capers.
That's right.
Which many people never figured out were radios. And I know this because I met a fan at a show from Brazil. And in Brazil, the games were distributed differently. They didn't come with manuals. In fact, weren't they? Some of them were pirated, right?
A lot.
A lot of them were. So this guy comes to me and he says, "You have no idea how popular Keystone Capers is. All my friends, we've played it for years. We love it. But they told me if I saw you to ask you, what are those? Is that like a rock that's radioactive? No one knows."
Right, with the lines.
We're all trying to figure it out. And I told him it was radios, and he said no one had any idea, and that he was going to be a hero going back to Brazil and saying, "I actually know what those things are now."
But they look exactly like an old-time radio, but only if you've ever seen one.
Only if you've ever seen one.
Exactly.
And
so you have to have that association. And
I mean,
and maybe in Brazil they didn't have those types of models.
It's called a cathedral radio, is what it's called. And I knew that it violated our rule, the rule we've always had of, if you can't tell what it is, take it out. But it was an homage to our dad who collected radios. And I wasn't going to take it out. So I made it as good as I could. And I said, you know what? If you don't know what it is, to hell with you, because I'm leaving it.
That's right.
Just don't touch it. But you'll be fine.
Just have no idea what it is.
You can touch the radio waves, but not the radio.
Right. You touch radio waves, but not the radio.
Yeah.
And speaking of homages, there's a lot of nods to a lot of different games and games that all of you have made. There's the creepiest spiders in this game. They're really well done, and even in crackpots, they always creeped me out. The spiders coming up the wall.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun playing this game, going through the levels, and there's more and more and more every level. There just keeps coming more, like 30 levels, and the levels get huge. and I won't give anything away because later on in the game it gets out of control what's in this game, and it changes into something else.
Well,
but it's really fun.
As Dave said, you only have 8 bits, so you can only
Yeah.
make certain things that look good.
It's a finite number of objects, probably, arguably.
Yes. Right.
Had you gotten far enough to see the lightning?
I did play every level. Yes.
Yeah.
So
The lightning
has got one of the cooler sound effects in it.
Yes, Dave.
yeah.
The Atari 2600 was designed to do beep. That's a sound effect. And to create some of the sound effects that we've done required all sorts of new techniques as well.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to shape and mold the built-in sounds on the 2600 into something else, combine them and make them into something that fits your game. Like they had some preset ones that sound like an engine or sound like a rumbling or a high-pitched sound. So you have to get creative.
Yep. Well, like the I had said to Dave, I need an airplane sound. So the airplane is reminiscent of the Keystone Capers airplane. And and Dave comes back and says, here's an airplane sound. And by the way, I added a Doppler effect. Based upon where you are in relation to the airplane, you'll hear the Doppler effect change. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Yep. Why not? Yeah, you can measure the distance away that you're away and just change it a bit.
Yep.
It's those touches, like I said before, it's those tiny touches that maybe not everyone notices, but the people who do notice, they get such a kick out of it.
Those are the intangible things that people don't know that we do to make a good game a great game. And you can play 2 games and say this one's good, but this one I really like. And you may not be aware of it, but it's usually those little details that the programmer put in that you're unaware of, but your subconscious and your gameplay skills noticed it makes it a better experience.
Yep, it's the shine, it's the polish, and it's the intangible, unless you know what you're looking for, that puts it that much above other games. Like I said before, there's a lot of mechanics in the game that are rarely seen in an Atari 2600 game, like the ability to reposition objects, and people who've been watching have seen Tanya reposition the barrels to jump on them, or the TNT barrels to blow things away to get the keys, or the carts you can ride in. Like you get into something else and then that starts moving. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you might have encountered making the game, and maybe some mechanics that did get cut due to like time or complexity that you wanted to put in?
Yeah, I mean it's funny. There's a prototype of a game I started at Activision that I haven't released to the public that I had found. I remember, and in that game I had moved. You used a character to move things around, and I always liked that idea, and I haven't used it in anything. So I thought, well, I have these barrels, and I need to get up to the higher levels of the Western buildings. Let me use a water barrel, and be able to have you position it horizontally where you want it to go, and then bounce on it so it springs you up. There were things. I mean, Garry had a great suggestion. I really wanted to make it so that when you jumped in and out of the windows, you kind of saw him kind of lean into the window and jump out. And that's a mechanic I wanted to do that I really didn't have the frames to do and the time to do. But there are other mechanics. It's funny, the ladders in the mine and the primarily in the town levels, I wasn't able to display the bottom half of the ladders in the bottom tunnel. And so that's why you have to jump up and grab them. So
that's why I thought it was just like, it's just different.
But I thought
that's fine.
But when I saw that and realized I couldn't do it and I still wanted ladders, kind of a light bulb went off, and I said, I could have a little bit different mechanic. I'm jumping up and pushing up to grab the ladder. And so in the town and in the mine levels, your ladders are broken, so you have to do that. And
that actually brought up a good play mechanic, because you can jump up, hang off the ladder so the ghost doesn't touch you when he comes by, because you're up against the wall.
Right.
And so something that was no good, ended up helping gameplay.
And it's even in the town, you can see the bottom rung of the ladder on the ground.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful, it's one of those touches.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's a broken ladder.
Yeah, and
right?
in some of the town buildings, I was able to put ladder on the bottom, and so I thought, well, let me put them in, but they're going to be ways to access basements underneath the buildings. And so you can, in some of the western towns, on the first level, you can climb down underground, and you'll have tunnels that let you get over to other parts, which is reminiscent of what Dave did in Pitfall with the underground areas.
Yes, that's right. Yep. Yeah, and there's some special stuff underground sometimes that might help you out.
And you talk about the sprites, yes, there are certain ways to make objects, but, the spiders are reminiscent of the ones from Crackpots. I wrote Crossbow for Atari, so the ants are very reminiscent of that. And then for fun, I wanted to use some of the characters from our other games that people may notice. Garry and Dave did that in Circus Convoy, so you'll see the plane from Keystone Capers, and you may see some other objects and say, oh, they look similar. Yes,
there's one. There's a scorpion.
Yeah, I
right on
saw
the
a
screen right
scorpion
now.
that looked similar at one point.
Yes, and
Yeah.
not being an artist, but being able, as Dave said, for 40 years of doing pixel art, my greatest moment was when Garry looked at the game the first time and said, "Oh, did you do that bunny rabbit?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "Wow, that's really nice."
He underestimated.
Bunny
it.
rabbit's really good.
The bunny rabbit worked that way.
It is. Yeah, and it's just maybe 3 frames, maybe even 2 frames, and it's that good that it has
2 frames,
the motion of a hopping rabbit. 2 frames, yeah. It's really great. It's the arc, the path of the rabbit, and the timing of the frames that makes it so convincing in just 2 frames. So now you've released 3 games. One with John Van Ryzen, returning and creating new games for the Atari 2600. Can you talk a little bit about people's reaction to the whole phenomenon of OG amazing developers coming back to the scene? All these people have grown up playing your games and now making new games, and you've had booths at several conventions now, so you must have a collection of reactions to just the general atmosphere of you coming back and making not just games, amazing, in-depth, huge games.
And not just games, but like Dave spoke of earlier, the whole experience. And we do this primarily. I mean, we're all later in life, and we were looking for some fun hobby to do as we edge toward retirement, and so this is our hobby. And I may be a mushball, but I'll tell you, I'll tell you honestly, the thing that's the best is somebody comes over, or we get an email, which is almost daily, where people say, "I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you brought back my childhood." Because I remember opening one of your games under the tree when I was 11 years old and playing it with my dad or my sister, and you have brought that feeling back. And we wouldn't have brought that feeling back if we decided to do digital downloads. And we didn't. Yes. We immediately, right from the get-go, said everything's got to feel like that era. The manual, 4-color, the box, beautiful. Even the patches. Everything.
Yes.
I mean, we had a woman come over to us at PRGE. She was not old, but she was old enough that she had played our games. And she walks by and kind of gives us an eye like, "I'm not sure what this is. I see a 2600. I'm not sure what it is." But then she stops and looks down and sees we had some of the patches displayed. And she goes, "God, those look just like the patches when I used to play with my sister. We played Freeway. I remember those patches."
Right.
And I said to her, "Oh, well, there's a reason for that." And she said, "What's that?" And I said, those games you're talking about, we did those games. Dave did Freeway. And she said,
Yeah.
I said, I did Keystone Capers. Dan did Crackpots. And she literally turned white, lost her breath.
Yeah, I wish we had video.
Wow.
And just stood there and said, I need a minute. And she just stepped back and said, you guys did those games? Said, yeah, that's why we're doing these games. And just to get that reaction from people, it's fabulous. And the funny part is, I mean, people are going to laugh, but the funny part is, you know why we can make our games so good? Because there's no pressure from investors. There's no pressure of make it a certain date and release it. We need the cash. We need the money. There's no pressure. No, there's no pressure because there's the profit. We throw every dollar we have into making the games fabulous and spending the money on the boxes and everything's wonderful. And it's essentially a break-even business for us, but we do it because we love making the games, and they turn out so damn good because we're the only game company that doesn't really care about making a profit. We just want to get the games out there and have people enjoy them.
Yeah, it's like filmmakers making one for the industry and one for themselves. You've made your games. Yep. You've made your games for the industry. Now you're making your games for yourselves. It's putting
40
everything
years
you wanted into it.
Of getting a call from somebody in some office somewhere in a suit saying, we really got to ship this in the next 6 weeks. And to not have that problem, it's glorious. Heaven on earth. We put the game out when we say we are proud of this game. And that's the difference.
Yep. And you definitely should be proud of this game. It is magnificent.
Oh, so much fun.
It's really, really fun.
It's
arcadey, but it's also at the same time a quest.
Mm-hmm.
There's an end. There are 30 levels. There's a progression.
There's little puzzles to figure out along the way too, right? Like going back and forth and
Yep.
And then when you're done, you get to point your smartphone at a QR code and get on our high scoreboard.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Which is actually the most technically impressive thing in the entire cartridge. We never talked about it. That QR code is beyond insane.
It's huge. It's amazing. Yeah, you can. It's hooked up to the internet. You can get on the scoreboard.
Well, technologically, it requires half of the RAM in the system. So it only comes up after the game is over, because you have to save in the first half. You make sure you have the scores and the times and all those things, and all of the variables that would be used in gameplay are destroyed, and so you can't resume the game once you've seen that. That's not true for the. There's also ROM versions that we use for tips and tricks. So you can by hitting the select key after you pass the status screen, that is a content specific or a context specific QR code goes to a thing that tells you about that level or one of the skills that you need at that point. And so just imagine all of, you've got to write the manuals, but then you've got to write the marketing blurbs on the website. And then you've got to write tips and tricks for every single level. And all of that stuff that's going on behind the scenes, you don't know about. It kills the amount of stuff we have to do just to put one game out. There's a lot to it. But technologically, the QR code, it uses a Reed-Solomon error correction algorithm, which if you want to, you can download a JavaScript program that creates a QR code. Free of charge.
Yeah.
But try doing that on a 6502 with less than 128 bytes of RAM.
In assembly.
Because you actually have to write a 22-term polynomial multiply.
That was it.
Oh my God.
Just for the error correction.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, so it is truly insane, but we thought it was kind of a cool thing. Nobody else has ever done it. Surprisingly,
I did it in 32 bytes, and I wanted to give it to Dave, but he was stubborn. He said, "I'm going to do it myself."
Surprisingly, nobody's done it since.
Yeah.
We've been
Somebody's
expecting
going
people to
to.
rip that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So let's get to the last questions in the chat here before we wrap it up, because Tanya has finished her game at level 8.
Yeah.
You made it pretty far.
I wanted
for your
to
second
make sure
ever
I got
game.
to at least the mine level. So
Yes,
so
we showed
could
off-
see
That was very
variety.
impressive,
Those
Tanya,
early
to get to the
levels.
mine level. That was good.
Well, and I didn't get a chance to practice it, so I'm not sure what where I'm going next. So it was a lot of figuring it out, but it really fun, really fun.
And like we didn't point it out, but like in Keystone Capers, it has a mini map in the bottom.
Right.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Which is a really nice
touch.
touch.
Very
Inspired
helpful too.
What game? Inspired by what game was that mini map in Keystone Capers? Do you know?
Rally X?
No, it was inspired by Bob Whitehead, Jumper Command.
Chopper
Look at the
Command.
bottom of
Oh,
Chopper Command. It's the same mini map. I liked it.
Oh,
in
nice.
Chopper Command. I said, Bob, I like it. I'm going to do it.
yep. And it's super helpful in the mines. Like,
Well, it is a maze in a
yeah,
way. It's a
Yeah.
maze to figure
do
your way
need it. You've gotta
over
have it.
and back. So you do need it. Yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
lot to memorize.
it's more like a
Yeah.
it's more like a hint,
Yeah,
because it
a
doesn't
hint.
tell you where the ladders are. It doesn't tell you where to go.
No.
But it tells you where key things
or
are.
where you are in
Well, yeah,
on the level, which is really important too.
I had to
yeah.
put it in because it showed you where the mine cars were, because you can only access them
Yes.
when you're near them, and you need keys in the mine to unlock gates to get to different sections
Yes.
of the mine. So I had the keys
Yeah.
on the map. We didn't want to show everything in the game, and thank you for not doing that. But I will mention, in addition to the toy cars and the haunted cars and the magic cars, there's the puzzle cars, which are in there.
Yes.
There's coach cars, which have specific items that you'd see on a coach car, whether it be suitcases or hat boxes. You've got dining cars, where you may see some of your favorite food items from some previous Activision games flying about. And then there are 3 sets of cars from the Gold Rush Gulch Natural History Museum that are being pulled. And those are kind of mini games unto themselves. And in one of them, you go to an ice cavern area. In another one, you go to a prehistoric world. And in the third
that
one, you
one's
go to
cool.
ancient Egypt. And you've got to
That's cool too.
you've got to circumvent kind of an ancient tomb and be able to.
I love those ones.
Yeah, so those are in there too, and those are very fun. Those were some other ideas at one point, but we morphed them into museum cars. So I think there's a lot of variety for people to keep playing the game over and over.
Yeah. So a question here, a technical question, a little bit. Are the ladders a sprite, playfield, missile, or ball?
They're always playfield.
Okay. Yeah. Huge use of playfield for the whole screen. There's so much creative use of playfield for the cars and the ladders and everything on there. It's gorgeous, and the colors and the shading on the cars, the lines of the cars too, the train cars, is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah.
It really gives a depth, a 3D depth to the cars.
Yes, and I did kind of the same thing with the parallax scrolling. The cacti and the rocks are different shades as you go back. And as Garry said, we're talking about Chopper Command. Well, the mountains I did are very reminiscent of what Bob Whitehead did in Chopper Command. I always loved those. So I thought they would be a good addition.
Yep, and games build upon games build upon games. We're all influenced all the way back.
And we have the Activision, which is now the Audacity games Rainbow or Sunset in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And when I saw later on in the game, there's a train car that's beautiful, rainbow colors. And I'm like, oh, that's a very nice rainbow. But Dan said, no, it's not your rainbow. But it is the same rainbow, so I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
Will, question from R. Haneki. Will Audacity guys be attending LIRG next year? I'd love Oh, maybe it's PRG. LIRG. I'd love to attend PRG, but with inflation and all, it isn't in my budget. And LIRG would be much easier.
You're talking about
as
the
I'm on
Long
the East
Island
Coast.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, Long Island. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were hoping to do it this year, but actually we had a
Yeah,
family
I think
event
we're going
that
to.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's weird.
We would hope to do that. I did that during the pandemic one year and did a remote event when they were kind of remote. But I think we would love to do that. We are open to do any shows. We'd love to meet everyone and kind of keep the spirit of the 2600 alive.
Yeah, they're lots of fun, and meeting people is so much fun.
Dave and I are at the Sacramento show in a few weeks, December 15th.
Oh, nice.
So,
oh, very nice.
We'll be at that one.
And you'll have some. Will you have some boxes of this game available? In case it's
yeah, they'll have
there
all
you
the
go.
games. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
All 3 games. Excellent. Another question. Probably know the answer to this already. Is a game like Gateway to Apshai possible in the 2600? And would you please make it? Like, you guys are probably not very interested in doing ports of other people's games. I don't know.
Yeah, we wouldn't do ports. I mean, part of the beauty of doing a great game like this is there are 2 ways to approach a game. One is you're handed something and you have to do it. The second is you do a game that works on the hardware. And the 2600 is a do-it game, the way it works on the hardware game. To go doing one that's, well, like I did Donkey Kong, that's a classic example. Hand me something from $3,000 worth of hardware and say, here, do it on this $5 cartridge. That becomes a problem. And that's why we'd rather do original concepts.
Yeah, and you can work with the hardware, what the hardware does best. Flip screens. It does great flip screen games, and it shows in this one.
Yeah.
So, taking, like you said, taking a game that's already existing, that is scrolling, may not work so well, right?
Right.
Question from Alan the Fur, kind of for me. Are you playing on the Plus cart? Yes, but it also works on the Harmony Encore cart as well, because we'll get to the selling of the games probably next if there's no questions. Oh, another question. Are your games compatible with the 2600 Plus?
Yes, as long as you have done the firmware upgrade.
Right. So the 7800 Plus that's coming out already has the firmware update.
Yes, and I have tested it on a 7800 Plus, and it works. So
excellent. So it's very compatible with lots of
to be
things.
specific, any of the upgrades that they came out with, because the first one they did was to make sure that our games would work.
Oh, perfect. That's great. So if you've upgraded it or you have the 7800 Plus, you're golden. You're good. I think that is the last question from the chat. So can you tell us about the 3 different editions of the game that you are selling, and when and where they will be available, and when the physical copies will be shipped out? So now it's the time for the pitch.
So Dave lives north of Sacramento. He's going to be selling them out of his house. You go to his house, line up at
here's the address,
door, and at 12 noon he'll start handing them out.
Gotta ring the doorbell and say trick or treat.
Yes.
Orderly line.
Yep.
So
Orderly line, please.
The editions. We have a standard edition, and we sell that at $60. Now, adjusted for inflation, when Pitfall and Keystone Capers came out, they were suggested retail $39.95. And adjusted for inflation, I just looked it up again, it's gotten even higher. That's $127 in today's dollars. And we sell these games at $60, brand new, in the box with everything. The box, the manual, the full color label. So that's our basic offering at $60. Most people prefer the next one up, which is called our collector edition. It comes with a poster inside, and more importantly, it's 2 games in 1. You actually get a second copy of the game in digital that you can download and play on emulators. So for those times you don't feel like getting out your 2600 and hooking it up to your TV, for those people who don't have it hooked up all the time, as you do, they can download this thing and play it on an emulator. So it's 2 games in one, plus it has the poster impact. And of course,
it has a lower serial number for people who care about serial numbers. Some collectors do.
Yeah.
And then there's the insane collectors, and we all know who we are. We have a VIP edition, and there are only 150 of them made and only 150 sold. And they come with a bunch of swag that's relative to the game concept. That's all public information you can find on our website. I guess you've got it up there right now. And so you get this beautiful plush holder for your certificate of authenticity, which is something that comes with the collector edition I didn't mention. A signed certificate of authenticity. Dan is currently fighting the writer's cramp, signing every one of these certificates. So the VIP version has the plush holder for that, which is beautiful. And the other swag that's in there includes an engraved conductor's pocket watch, a working watch.
A beautiful pocket watch.
Wow.
And a keychain, which is a miniature version of the Casey's Gold cartridge.
Oh, nice. That's cool. That's some
cool.
nice bonuses. So you have to sign 2,000 certificates, Dan.
Only 150 made, isn't it?
No.
The other ones too?
Yeah, combined
Oh my goodness.
2,000.
anymore.
No.
Not only that, the VIP collector edition, the box is hand signed.
Yes.
Oh, very nice. Yep.
So,
and if people come to us at shows, we are happy to sign a box when they buy the game at the show, regardless of whether it's standard collector or VIP.
But there's only 150 of the swag. If you're interested in the
and they're
swag,
numbered.
Those are gone.
You've got to get that. So the game goes on sale at noon Pacific tomorrow. And then we've got the Thanksgiving holiday. So you can purchase starting at noon tomorrow, and then we'll start rolling them out. We're probably going to roll most of them out by the following Monday-ish, or that week anyway, because again, we got the holiday that got in the way. But we do, we'll do our best. We can't really say guarantee because we don't control the post office, but we will do our best to get it to you if it happens to be intended as a gift. Get you there by
Keep in mind, any Canadians you're shipping to, our postal service is currently on strike. So, yeah, so they might be delayed in Canada, but they'll probably stop striking soon, hopefully. That's just FYI for you.
For Christmas. But
unfortunately, the shipping to Canada is really a 2-week thing, even when there's not a strike. So it's going to be good.
There you go.
Very true.
Yeah. But again, that you can buy the collector edition and get the digital download
immediately, right? So tomorrow at noon Pacific time, if they order at that level, they can play it tomorrow at noon.
Unless Dan finds a bug in the next 12 hours. Yes.
Yeah.
I will be up testing all night.
Now,
I bet. Yeah.
Here's a tip. In the past, with our launches, we have gotten pummeled pretty hard on the servers. And a way to make your life easier is before noon, go to our website and set up an account. Name and password, put in your address, be all ready, because you need to do all that to buy the game. Do it ahead of time.
Right.
Log into your account at 12 noon. Everything's there. Buy the game. Much easier.
And that gets you set up for the high scores as well, and everything like that. Yep.
Every game has a unique serial number. It's tied to you. Yeah. Whether you're playing your downloadable version or your cartridge version, you have your unique serial number. When you post a score, it automatically goes into your account. Your account keeps track of what games you own of ours. So it's well worth doing.
Pretty slick.
And you can manage the games that are in your account. There's a manage tab. That's where you download your digital copy. But you can also sell it to somebody. If they also have an account, you can transfer it to them. So we had one person who said,
nice.
I want to buy it for my son, a mother. And she said, but I want it to be a surprise. So I said, it's very simple. You create your own account and you buy it. You can even give a shipping address to, dad at work or whatever. And then, all you have to do is go through this transfer procedure because he'll have an account too. The son will have an account. And now it will be him showing up in all of his high scoreboards. When you create an account, just the hardest thing you have to do is think of a unique screen name. And if it's not unique, it'll tell you, try again, like often happens online. But otherwise, yes, we need to know your address if we're going to ship it to you. We need to know your email, and that's your login. So Gary is absolutely right. And we're currently still only taking PayPal. So you want to make sure you have your PayPal account and it's ready, and do that in advance. Also, for the insiders, the people who are going to be sitting there with AudacityGames.com on the screen, waiting for noon to happen,
refresh.
You want to refresh at noon, or it won't necessarily show up for sale. So,
and we will tell you that a couple of weeks after launch, as we get closer to Christmas, all the games will be available on Walmart's website and Amazon.com.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, great. And that's those will be the standard edition, I'm guessing, or
not VIP, standard or collector.
Okay,
because VIPs will be gone by then. They usually go in the first few days.
Yeah. So if you want VIPs, get in early, get everything set up like you said, and so just one more time, what is the website for people to buy the game tomorrow?
AudacityGames.com.
Okay, at noon Pacific tomorrow.
Noon Pacific tomorrow.
Right, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Okay,
noon
excellent.
Pacific.
And right now, if you go to AudacityGames.com, you get a countdown to the game. And if that code is all working, since you only can test it once every time a game comes out, and I haven't looked at it in 3 years, it will change. The button will change to send you to the site. But there's also a button to click through the site. Click through to the main site anyway. Because we have people buying games today, and it's slowed down a little bit because there's a lot of people who said, I'm going to wait for Casey's Gold and buy 2 games at once and ship it in one box. So that's happening right now.
And the other games, John's Game and Circus Convoy and Alien Abduction, those are already available on Amazon and Walmart, but we're have an exclusive period on Casey's Gold.
Right, and these are unlimited. The standard one is unlimited. You don't have to worry about it running out.
Right.
So that's good. That's good. So people can buy it now, buy it in a week, whenever.
Yep.
Okay. So anything that I didn't cover that you wanted to mention before I let you guys go?
Well, I do see somebody had a question. We're not currently selling the games digitally only.
Right.
So that's something that we decided as a company not to do. And I saw another question about what's upcoming in 2025, and we don't have anything announced, but we certainly, each of us have games that are in development.
We've learned not to announce early, right, Dan?
Yes, sir. So
you've learned your lesson.
So my next game coming out in 2030. No, we're not going to be. We're not going to be announcing too prematurely.
Yep, that's good. That's good. And it'll be a surprise when it's ready. It's ready.
Yep.
And it'll be like released within the week or 2 weeks or whatever. Like this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much once again for coming on the show, and also it was a great pleasure being a beta tester for the game and squashing some bugs before it gets out to the public, and I want to thank you for your time and keeping and continuing to make games and put them out in box form, which people love, and keeping true to the aesthetics of what we grew up with.
Yep. We love it.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
So thank you so much. And looking forward to playing some more Casey's Gold and
Thank you.
finishing it properly, not skipping levels like I was able to do during beta testing.
Yes, you will not be able to do that in the actual cartridge, and I hope everyone enjoys it. And thank you for everyone's patience for the time it took me to get the game out and released.
Yep. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, David. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Gary.
Bye-bye
And
now.
we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. There we go.
Yes.
So, always a great
Fantastic,
time
yeah.
talking to the people
It
at
is.
Audacity
And playing their games.
and playing their games
I'm
too,
glad I got
because
the opportunity
they're
to
so
do
much
that.
fun.
Yeah.
And,
Wonderful. So much fun to play.
It was great
so much
having
fun.
them on
Yeah.
for their first game, Circus Convoy,
Yes.
having John Van Ryzen on
Yeah.
for his first ever video interview,
Yeah.
ever, for his game Alien Abduction, and having these guys back on for Casey's Gold. It's super fun talking to them, and I'm great
Yeah.
that everybody in the chat seemed to enjoy it as well.
Yes.
And thank you for asking the great questions
Yeah.
that you did too. Sorry for my voice, but it
Yeah,
just,
we're both
pretend
fighting
it's-
colds, unfortunately.
yeah.
Better now than, right
I didn't
at
have much
Christmas,
side
but-
effects, but the throat is kind of weird. I
Well,
didn't really have
you
a cold,
definitely have
a
a
tiny bit of cough, but
bit of, I don't know if it's laryngitis, but
I didn't
yeah.
lose it completely. Just it made it really deep.
yeah.
Maybe I should record a song,
I was
right
gonna
now.
say you need to do a little bit of voice acting work before it comes back up. So.
Oh,
there you
question. How did you get them to have an interview with you? That was impressive.
go. Yeah.
Well, I am a professional filmmaker. I've made documentaries, and so I professionally do interviews.
Yeah.
But I met Dan a number of
ago
years back.
At PRG, I think.
Yeah, way back, 2018.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier, something like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, just went up to it, talked with him, and obviously I have the show, so I've an outlet to talk with him about things. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just invited him on the show, and
Yeah.
and we do a lot of world premieres of games for the 2600. We're
Yeah.
kind of known for doing that, so
Yeah.
yeah, they're just really great guys, and I'm really
Very-
happy that they allow me to do the world premiere for their games, for
Yeah.
Audacity games, and
Yeah.
I do it for Champ Games and Atari Age as well.
And very generous with sharing their time with us and talking about the games and the things they have in
Yes.
development too.
Yeah, it's really nice that they set aside some time
Yeah.
to do it, and
Yeah.
and yeah. Oh, Gamma Dev redeemed treat. How did you do that? I swear I turned it off. Everybody was very well behaved.
Yeah. But we can do treat. Well, Gamma Dev wanted to.
Yes.
We should treat the cats. We can
Yes,
treat the cats.
they've been actually very well behaved.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gone. Pseudographics. I don't ship anything overseas. The
Do
cats?
ship
Do you want me to ship
overseas.
this cat?
Uh,
Sometimes he's very
Would that
naughty.
be on their website though? It might be on their website if they do ship overseas. You might be able to check that before they actually put it on sale.
Yeah.
Do you think? We should have asked
what
that
you could probably do is pretend to buy one of their other games
and see what the shipping
and go
is.
all the way to pay
Yeah.
and like try and buy Alien Abduction
Yeah.
or their other game and just go all the way to the end.
The cats are on the loose and they must
Yes.
be stopped.
It's a bad cat.
They know.
And
they
then
know.
select your country
Yeah.
in Europe and see if it works. If
Yeah.
it works, then you're golden and
Yeah.
you'll be ready to buy Casey's Gold.
Yeah.
Yep. Cats. It's
Yes.
time for cats.
Treat time for cats?
Yes, I am going to
Ding,
ring
ding,
the
ding.
bell because they couldn't hear it because we have earbuds in.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
let's take out the earbuds because they are a pain in the ear,
they are a pain in the ear.
especially after a couple hours.
Oh, I do find them a little uncomfortable.
There you go. Oh, actually, what's coming up on the show? Let's do that just quickly before everybody runs away.
Oh, before we do the cats?
Yeah, it's quick.
Okay.
So we have another big interview next Friday.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be interviewing Bob DeCrescenzo, Pac-Man Plus, about his we have exclusive world premiere of his new game, Bounty Bob Strikes Back. Now, what's special about this game, other than it's an awesome game and a classic game, it's on the 7800. It is the first 7800 new game to be released from Atari in 33 years.
That's cool.
So that it's a big deal that Atari is now making new games, distributing
under
new
the
games
name,
under the
their
name
name.
Atari.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
And it's brand new games,
good
so we'll
stuff.
be having him on the show. He's always a fun guy to have on the show
and
and
his
talk
games
to.
are fantastic. So
Absolutely
I'm
amazing.
very
So
excited.
if you like that game and you played it on some 8-bit computer systems, you'll now be able to get it on the Atari 7800 as well.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
Yay. Okay.
Oh, and you got Bounty Bob on order. Can't wait to play it. So we are actually interviewing him on the day it gets released through Amazon. And I'm
wow.
guessing Atari.com as well.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah, so we'll be talking as it gets shipped out to people. Okay, kitties.
All right, we're gonna feed the cats. For those of you still hanging on,
Yeah.
if you've earned some bits by watching the interview,
If you like cats,
if you like cats
this is
and
crazy.
you like giving cats treats,
and you've never seen this before.
yes, please stick around.
You get to bet on cats.
Yeah.
So right at the top, you get to click on predict, and you have
Oh, we do ship overseas, says Tiki
dancing.
Dan.
There you go. So there you go. Don't have to do all that
Excellent.
rigmarole I said.
Yes.
So you click predict at the top. You have to predict which of these two cats will ring the bell 10 times first.
Yes.
And they get a treat every time. They have to finish their treat before they ring the bell again. Look at
Correct.
this guy.
Look at him.
He just rang the bell.
There we go.
So there is Sid, who's the black and white cat.
Yes.
And we have Atari, who's the gray cat. Sid will probably win.
Yes.
But it's how much he'll win by. How
And
many
that's
bells
what the
ahead.
prediction is. So how much do you think each of them will win?
Yes.
So we have a SID 5 Plus category. You'll flip it on the screen there.
There we go.
A SID 5 Plus.
Sid 3
3
or
to
4
4.
over top.
Yeah, over under. SID
yeah.
1 to 2 and
Atari
wins.
Yeah.
So those are the categories.
You can bet 10 bits.
You don't
All
have
the way
to
up.
predict very much. You can use just 10 bits. You probably earned at least that much. Just
It doesn't
by
cost you
watching this
anything.
stream.
None of this is money.
No, it's not real money. Just bits. Just
Yep.
stream bits. And Sid still 3 to 4 is high up there, but we've got a
safe-
5 plus.
It's a safe. Safe is 3 and 4.
Yes.
Safe is 1 and 2. But if you want to get the big money and
It's on the edges
pick an
there.
outlier
That's
that nobody else picks, it
Yeah.
could happen.
So you got 30 more seconds to figure out your prediction. If you want in on the cat chaos.
Why is this so crooked?
Is it crooked? Oh, it is a little bit.
There we go.
There
That's
we
better.
go. Got a couple of. Oh, they're just so
So,
excited.
it's all covered
one
now.
for Atari. Oh, excellent. We've got
Yeah, we've
all
got it
the
all
options
covered.
Got a
10
few more
seconds
seconds left.
Throw your bets in at the
There
last
we
second.
go.
Oh,
It's
there's the
jumping
last
around a
second
bit.
bet.
Excellent.
It's not a bad idea to throw it at the last second because nobody else. Oh, and it's closed.
Oh, right. So the predictions have been closed. We'll give you the treats. I will get the treats ready.
It's been a while since we had spam.
Oh, there you go.
So I think they cracked down on spam quite a lot on Twitch. 'cause
We've noticed, yeah, not as
went
many
from-
get through now.
Went from 1 or 2 every episode to
Yeah.
0. That's the first time in months. Okay, kitties.
We've got
You're all
Darkwing,
hyped up now.
who's all in for Atari, I can tell.
Ooh.
Excellent.
1. Okay.
All right, kittens, are we ready?
Are you ready, cats?
Are you ready? All right,
And-
let's go.
Oh my gosh.
my goodness, who knocked it out of your hand?
Oh, Atari's off to the
Atari's
races.
first.
There we go. Oh,
Sid's.
Sid's got 1 on the board now.
All right.
Go, kitties, go. Get this out of the way a bit more.
There's
Oh.
Atari.
Atari's in the lead still with 2. Very unusual. Sid is stunned. Oh,
Yep.
he's got it. Tied it up 2-2. Atari's finished his treat. And he's got the bell 3. He's been
Oh, and
very
that was
accurate.
Sid right after there.
Ooh, boy, it's tied up.
Neck and neck.
Very tied up.
Neck and neck. Oh, Sid's
and
back fast.
as per usual, Sid's coming back.
He's started swallowing them whole.
Oh,
Hit
get
the bell.
closer.
There you go.
4-4. Yeah, Sid, after the first one, Sid starts inhaling them.
Yeah.
Oh, 5-4. Atari still has a
Atari,
fighting
hit the
chance
bell.
if he gets faster. Oh, it's a struggle.
Oh,
that was Atari.
Atari.
That was Atari for sure. That was close.
Sid, come on, boy.
Oh, he's having some trouble here. Oh,
Try the other one. There,
you
you go.
He's falling behind a little bit. Atari's, harder.
Harder. There we go.
go. 6-6, tied it up.
Oh,
7-6.
Sid.
Sid's pulling out a little bit now.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh, it's Annie Cat's game. Oh,
There's
it's
Atari.
tied it up. You gotta get a little bit ahead now, Atari.
Oh, Sid's
distracted again.
What's
oh boy,
going on?
this is Atari's chance. No, he's back at the bells. He's going for the blue one. He's got it.
Oh, there you go.
8-7.
Hit it.
Hit it.
Hit it.
Again. Oh, no!
Sid!
It's game point for Sid.
Oh,
what an
no.
upset! It is now 9-8 for Sid. He just needs one more ding.
Oh,
there it is.
there we
It's over by
go.
2 whiskers. Sid
some extra
wins by
treats for
2
kitties.
whiskers. Oh, my goodness.
That was a good game.
That was
close.
That's the kind of game you want.
Yes.
Where it's neck and neck, any cat's game.
Any cat's game.
So, Sid wins by 2 whiskers. Let's award the points. So close. Yep. Okay, let's see who wins. Wow. So at a ratio of 22-1. This was big payoff.
Oh, so who got the 22?
Gamma Dev.
Oh, Gamma Dev. Who triggered it in the first place?
Oh,
Good job, Gamma
some
Dev.
inside info. I don't
and
know.
2 others. Yeah, maybe.
Gamma Dev and 2 other people.
Wow.
At a ratio of 22-1.
Wow.
One day we had a ratio of like 100 and something to 1.
Yeah.
It was crazy ratio. So congratulations to the winners there. And the 2 other people.
Yes.
I don't know who. I guess that was anybody who has a 2. El Nefer.
Dan?
And Dan AVC.
There you go.
Is that the right one?
Well, the people who chatted, at least, yeah.
Was it right?
Dan.
No, it's 3. It's
3.
people with 3 beside
Sorry,
their name.
3. No one
Nobody's
chatted. There
nobody's
you
saying.
go. No
It's a
one's. Everyone's
mystery.
hiding.
And
me,
Vitoko.
Vitoko.
Oh, good job,
job.
Vitoko. Oh, I want to show something I finally got in the mail.
Before we head out.
Before we head out.
Yeah, before
So
James rests his voice for another 24 hours.
God. So we had retro game night that we do every year
Yes.
with our friends over at the house.
Yes, it was
been a
good time.
hectic week. Oh my God.
It
Like
has.
3 shows, 2 of them interviews,
And then
retro game night.
retro game night last night.
I'm dead. I'm so beat.
Oh, you
But-
can rest now.
On Friday, this arrived at the door. Let me just get the cam going over.
Only
here.
once a year, says Zeptari. Well, we play games all the time, but
Yeah.
as far as inviting a bunch of friends over and making a big
we set up a
event.
whole bunch of consoles,
Yes.
a whole bunch of monitors and
Yep.
TVs, and we have high score contests and
Yes.
giveaway prizes.
Yeah.
It's quite an undertaking, so don't want to do it too often.
Yeah.
So this arrived in the mail. I was very skeptical about this actually arriving.
Yeah.
It comes from Andor, a planet in the Star Wars universe. No, it's a tiny country in Europe
Yeah.
that's like a tax haven or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it would come. This came in the mail. This is the most expensive single purchase
You've ever made?
for a video game system I have ever made.
Yeah.
And if you can tell by the size
Yes.
and the first 3 letters of it, it is an SD card for the Neo Geo system, which I got at PRGE. And I had no games because games are so expensive for the Neo Geo
Yes.
that I don't dare buy one. They start at like $100 or $200
Yeah, they're quite
for the
pricey.
worst games. For the MVS, and I have an AES,
Yeah.
and the AES are out of control. Like Metal Slug is like $5,000
Oh.
for the AES.
Wow.
So this is the thing I needed to get.
Yeah.
So it took a month and a half to get here, but everybody in the chats, the Discord
It's a
for it,
beautiful
they're like,
cart, too.
you may or may not get it. It may take a year and a half. They're like back ordered and everything. Yeah, it's a very nice cart, and it's got 4 instant load slots.
Clear smoke gray. I always
Oh, it's
love clear carts.
beautiful.
I'm always impressed. I love it when you can see the circuitry,
Yeah.
the circuit board, I should say, under,
And this is
in it.
the color I got for my N64 as well, the smoke
the
gray.
smoke gray, yeah.
Smoke black, smoke gray.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So we played the hell out of this last night.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the games are gorgeous.
I think we played this more than anything else we had out, to be honest.
'Cause it's
Because the
got-
games are fantastic and
Yeah.
they're so arcadey. Like
It's like the pinnacle of
like arcade.
arcade non 3D bitmap graphics.
Yeah.
Is like the top.
Yeah.
One of those last systems that really did a great job.
Did it well. Yeah.
Of sprite work.
Yeah.
2D sprite work. So it's actually absolutely gorgeous. So with inflation, an Atari 2600 in 1977 was only about half as cheap as the Neo Geo carts.
Yeah.
Neo Geo is, I think, the most expensive system with inflation.
Yeah.
The Neo Geo AES.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. You deserve Ninja graphics after all this Atari. Yeah. The price to Canada with import and shipping
Oh, I don't want to know.
is 1,000 Canadian
Okay.
for this.
Okay.
But
It plays everything.
Yeah, it plays everything. It has an
So,
SD card and it has a USB port for programming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But of course, you don't just buy that. You have to buy the Neo Geo system too.
Yeah.
Either
You
a
have to
consoleized MVS
Figure one of those out as well.
and the controller and it's so good. It better make your breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see if it does.
Yeah.
Oh, you can play it on your you can play Neo Geo games on your computer. I played them on a
of
Raspberry
course.
Pi.
Yeah.
But there's just something.
It better make your breakfast
There's
every
something
day.
about actual
It's
hardware.
true.
I have a
Yeah.
7800. I have a 26. I have all these systems.
But if you were a hardcore collector, you'd be spending thousands on those carts individually, and you get to use
tens of thousands.
the original console and system and play
Yeah.
a whole host of games. It's fantastic for retro game night because you pull out the old console and play games off of.
Raspberry Pi DIY. I've never seen. There are cheaper options for this.
Yeah.
Like much cheaper options.
Yeah.
But they don't do what this cart does.
Yeah.
They're way slower.
Yeah.
They don't have the instant load.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's that expensive, but I looked at all the options because I didn't want to spend $1,000. But
Yeah.
actual hardware. Yep,
Yeah.
we get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I have all real systems, and we played it with RGB out to my RetroTINK upscaler, and it looked gorgeous on our
It looked amazing.
4K TV.
I have to say, it
was
looked.
like we're playing a cartoon. It looked like you're playing a cartoon.
It was so good. It really
It's
was.
beautiful. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
need to convince anybody here
No,
that
no,
the real
no.
hardware is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed
It
it.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So I was
really,
really,
really
happy
good.
to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I saw some graphical effects that I went like the shading on some of it.
Yeah.
CRTs blend the pixels together, so
yes.
it makes a nice smooth color shade.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of that stuff
Yeah.
in the Neo Geo because they have the ability to pixel push anything you want on this.
Yeah.
And a CRT, I should hook it up to my Commodore monitors and play it on that because it'll look really, really good.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're losing it. It's going.
Yeah, I
it's
should
getting
go for
lower and lower and
World
lower.
record of lowest singing voice. Yeah.
Gotta
Anyway.
get back into.
Waiting for that Neo Geo show. Now that I have the cartridge, I can investigate some homebrew, but a lot of homebrew is not released as binaries at all.
Oh, I see.
They only sell them on carts.
And I'm sure they're
They're
very pricey.
$300
Yeah,
carts.
I can see that.
Oh my god.
Let's
Yeah.
end with a sea shanty.
Yo ho. Yeah. So that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Pseudographics, Vitoko, Zeptari, Gamadev, Double Down, D-Train, Philip Meyer.
It's Kev.
Yeah, you better do it.
It's Kev. I don't know. Let's see. Gamadev.
Darkwing 602.
I don't know who you
Tiki
already
Dan
said.
K, of
Yay.
course.
MK Smith. Vitoko, I'm sure we said
Kabuto
already.
Coder.
Weetog.
Weatog.
Weetog.
MK Smith.
yeah.
Token Muncher. Kabuto Coder.
Just repeat it all over again.
Hanik, Delta Falconass.
Trigger Happy.
Trigger Happy. Canadian Tenor. Hey, other Canadian. Tim's Tiny Arcade. Who else? Old School 70. Bahatma that's hard. Bahatmut Jiraya. Atari's Maximus.
Hey.
Hello. Old School 70. I'm sure I'm
Get to the
repeating
top, I
names.
think. Yep.
Who else? Oh, first on chat. Amir Satvat 1985.
Awesome.
VR Gamer for Life. And everybody else who was lurking or didn't, or we didn't get up to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really fun show.
Yeah.
Talking with the
Fantastic,
Audacity people. And of course, a huge thank you to Dan, Gary, and David for coming on the show.
So awesome having them on the show.
Yeah, it's just,
So cool.
yeah, they know what they're talking about. They're
Yeah.
Lots of fun. They have just oodles of things to say.
I love their
and-
stories of,
Yeah.
developing back in the day too.
Oh,
so.
Phyllis Font. Snuck in at the last
Yeah.
second. Yeah, their stories of going to shows and stuff. And yeah.
Even behind the scenes stuff and yeah.
So we will be back on Tuesday for our regular show time, evening show, and then back on Friday again for the big exclusive world premiere.
That's awesome.
Bounty Bob Strikes Back with Bob Decker's Enzo Pac-Man Plus.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go rest my voice for the rest of the night and probably tomorrow as well. And then tear down all the systems that are upstairs.
Oh, from our retro
we're
night.
celebrating the 35th anniversary of Sega Genesis North American release.
Yeah.
And TurboGrafx 16 North American release.
Yeah.
I have to specify that.
Yeah.
So we had those out, playing some games.
Yeah.
And we had Vectrex out. We had Intellivision out.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, Neo Geo.
And what were
Nintendo broadcasting on the wall. We had a projector
we
for
had
the
a
first
projector.
time.
You bought a uber inexpensive projector.
And it looks great.
It looked fantastic. Like, I was
Fan
shocked.
is so noisy.
Oh, it is noisy.
But it didn't matter because we had all the games and stuff going. But it looked amazing.
We're going to have to do that again. I didn't
100%.
think it was going to look so good, and the lights were on, too. So, yeah.
It was bright.
Great.
It was crisp. It was beautiful.
Yep.
Okay,
Anyway.
we're out of here. Okay, have a great
Good
rest of the
night.
weekend. We did a special Sunday show. Yeah, unusual. Yeah, we'll talk to you on Tuesday when we'll both be back. Yeah. So have a good night, and we'll see you then.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.